Hi, welcome back to Alternatively Speaking. If you don't know me, if you're new here, I am JJ, the Practical Alchemist, and the whole purpose of this channel is for me to bring you some alternatives, some different ways of thinking, being, doing, so that we can all get through all the obstacles that might be lying in our paths as we go forward through this wonderful life that we're all living. And so sometimes I'll bring you thoughts, other times I'll bring you interviews. Today, I am bringing you an interview, and it's an interview that I did back in October 22, I think. Yes, October 22. And it was with a rather wonderful person called Ervin Laszlo. And it was for my radio show on UK Health Radio. The show now is no longer available in the archive on UK Health Radio's website. So I thought it was a brilliant time to bring it to this channel because I've been talking about oneness and community, and he talks a lot about that in the interview recently. And secondly, it needs to be heard. I think it needs to be heard. It's a fantastic interview. And I was a little bit in tears towards the end of it when we recorded it. And again, when I've just watched it through again. So it was Ervin Laszlo. Now, I spoke to him after the publication of this book, The Upshift, The Path to Healing and Evolution on Planet Earth. It's a great book. It's a great blueprint for how we can go forward and create a world in which we can all thrive. It's brilliant. But I mean, he is a brilliant man. He's got doctorates all over the place. He won the Peace Prize of Japan, the Goya Award. He's been nominated twice for a Nobel Peace Prize. And he's the founder and president of the Laszlo Institute of New Paradigm Research, and so on and so on. He's the author of 66 books, translated into 26 languages, it says here, probably more than that now. And he's the editor of another 34 volumes, including a 4-volume encyclopedia. I mean, this, as I say, is a brilliant man. A general all-round genius, basically. And this book is a really good read if you want to get an idea of how we can go forward in our lives to make this world a better place. Anyway, without any more wittering on from me, I bring you the interview that I did for UK Health Radio with Ervin Laszlo. Now, please remember this was for radio, so I reference listeners a lot in it, but I do think that really we need to get it here and out on YouTube as well. So I give you Ervin Laszlo. You really have, it seems, laid out very simply and clearly what's going on in the world right now and what we can do to get through this place. We're at a tipping point, obviously. And I love what the Reverend Michael Beckwith said at the beginning of the book, that you remind us that we are to make history, not just be historians of things past, but also the time that we're living through is now primed for great change. If we do not live in a state of resignation to the seeming chaos, but instead live to catch, articulate, walk and work towards the vision of what's possible for us all. The upshift he is calling for is to see and feel what's possible and to remember that our potential is bigger than the problem. What do you mean by that? Or what does Michael Beckwith mean by that when he says that of you?
Well, I hope it means more or less what I mean also. Young people talk about the force.
Yeah.
They say, may the force be with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's Starbucks, I believe. I think the potential that we have is a force, but it's the force of evolution.
Yeah.
Something which is not just biological, not just concerns the DNA in the cells, something that concerns our society, something concerns our ecology. And there is something is moving forward in this, which you can discover But looking at the overall picture, despite of all the reversals, all the gaps, and all the chaos, there is a movement toward a higher level of coordination and acting together. Even though we have all these tremendous problems, we are now being pushed practically onto the global level.
Yeah.
We have to just understand that we have to understand. That's what we have to understand. And that we have to work together, you see. So I think that there is something happening which is bigger than you and me, bigger than all of us, which is in nature. The force, the tendency, the trend, the motivation, whatever you call it. I call it an attractor, in science one talks about an attractors, toward wholeness and toward coherence in the world. And that's the big potential. It's bigger than us. And we do it whether we know it or not. We can temporarily suspend it, we can work against it. But on the whole, we thrive and we do well when we go visit.
Yes.
A big lesson to learn to go visit.
Very much so. And I talk about this show being all about how to live in line with nature in every meaning of that, but also living true to our nature. So being what we really are, which is, a being of great potential within nature.
I think our nature is the nature of nature.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one. We are part.
Yeah, yeah. And so what we have been doing, maybe, and you will correct me if you think that I'm not correct in this, what we've been doing a lot up until this point is working against nature. And so it's unsustainable. And so all these structures and paradigms that we've created, we've got to the point where they can't be sustained any further and they will crumble. But we have to move beyond that. We have to work out how we can surf our wave through that. I think that's probably one way to look at how you're outlining the future for us.
Yes. I mean, we have went past what is naturally, what is nature, what is the nature of nature, because it's also our nature. And if we go exceed it all the time, we do it in an unsustainable situation. And that means that it'll collapse. Sooner or later, it'll collapse. Because we try to do everything to hold it back, to hold that collapse back, try to compensate. Most of modern technology, I mean, at least to a very large extent, is compensation oriented. We try to withstand the problems that we are facing. Now we have the climate change problems, you see, and then the whole violence problems created by the poverty, the problems with energy prices and all the things that are now happening. We are trying to do our best to somehow to compensate for them, but we are creating them.
Yeah.
If we're living within the bounds of what is natural and what is good, because what is good for us is good for each one of us, and it's good for also for the planet. And what is good for the planet is ultimately good for us. That's our home. That's our mother. So we have got to learn. Not everything that is synthetic is necessarily better. Not everything that is new is necessarily better. I mean, we have got to somehow think what is really meaningful, what is truly part of this cosmos. We are so much part of nature. We have got to learn to live with it.
Yes, absolutely. And then people who listen to this show, who are new to this show, might say, well, what's that got to do with health? But it's everything to do with our health as well. Our health and well-being depends on us.
Well, the book that you quoted, the Upshift, is the subtitle is The Path to Healing and Well-being. So healing is health,
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so we're at this tipping point, as we've said. We're at this place where, and Greg Braden, who a lot of people might know who are listening, another well-known thought leader, he talks about how we can either move forward or move up in the upshift towards peace and well-being, or down into chaos. And we have a choice at this point, don't we?
That's what I call bifurcation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rather awful word, perhaps, but it's been discovered in science and physical chemistry. Things that you get an integral, a complex system, it keeps moving in a direction until suddenly there is a fluctuation coming that breaks open the coherence of the system. That means that it can move in one direction or another, but it has to change. It has to change direction. And which direction it changes to is still open. That's the great also discovery of the Nobel Prize winner, Ilya Prigozhin. He said there is a point of bifurcation, this was his term, where things are not determined by the past, not determined by the outside. The only determined or decided by what's happening inside the systems. Sometimes very small little changes, fluctuations, and that they can blow up and they can create a change in the system. That's how nature operates, and that's how evolution operates in the physical human realm as well.
Yeah. And so we're getting to that point, or we've got to that point right now. So then on a practical individual level, as well as community level, what are the steps that we should be taking? What are the things that we should be considering as we move forward through this phase of evolution?
I think, first of all, is to recognize that we are not alone, we are not separate, that we are in this together, and that we are not separate, not only from each other, we are also not separate from the environment, from nature. If we can find ourselves together, this famous togetherness, if we can find it again, we can move forward. And the secret of that is a famous four-letter word, which we need much more to use than we have done before, which is love, L-O-V-E.
Yeah.
Love, as we feel it, is an orientation toward coherence, toward oneness. And that oneness is something built into the universe. This universe started, 13.8 billion years ago, they say, the physicists, after the Big Bang, in total chaos. And since then, it's been moving toward what the Greeks call cosmos, some ordered kind of a universe. And it's moving in that direction. It's moving toward coherence. And it's very relevant because the quantum sciences are telling us that there's nothing separate in the world. It's all hanging together. One thing is always influencing every other. You can't act locally. You can't act independently of the others. You're all part of this network. So if you realize this, that we are together in this, and that we have to be together not only with each other, but with the environment, with all life on Earth, with the whole nature as it envelopes us, and we start to begin to understand more and more of it. It's a delicate system, highly oriented system, oriented toward order, toward oneness, toward the word scientists use is coherence. Coherence with each other, coherence within the systems. One thing works with another, not against it, and certainly not independent of it. So these are the basic points of a mindset shift, I would say, that we have to change, because the old mindset was mechanistic, materialistic, look out for yourself, you are on this, you only go around once, and if you're not with us, you're against this. I mean, all of these dichotomic mindsets, that gets us into these problems, more and more unsustainable situation. Back to each other, back to the embrace of nature, back to the embrace of each other in the best sense of the word. We can do that. If we feel it, yes, then we'll act like it. We don't need literally little instructions, put your right foot forward or not follow with the left. I mean, we know how to walk.
Yeah.
We know the goal, the direction. The direction is coherence, is oneness. And the way there to that is by feeling, sensing, and acting love.
And I love what you're saying there. Absolutely, I really resonate with that. It is the only way to go. Back in the 60s, we were being told that, all you need is love. It's actually quite true in many ways. Yeah. And so a lot of people, though, are going through a period of intense fear, anxiety. So how do we make this shift into thinking or acting differently? How do we do that?
not trying to do it alone, doing our part, but coming together. Let me just mention this. I have an initiative started a couple of months ago, which is now on the web, which is a site, which is the Upshift movement. And people can come in on that, and it's free of charge. You just come in and you are being asked just to give your name and what you think is the most important thing you'd like to do. What is really the ambition? And then describe it if you wish. And then we watch these. We're getting hundreds of these responses. We are looking at it, reading them, trying to bring people together and trying to find means for them to do it, to enable them, even to look for financing as far as we can, and help people to realize their dreams together. There's the whole idea. And Upshift is only possible by coming together. So that's how you got to do it, is joining together with a keen sense of mission. Our mission is a human mission, almost a cosmic mission, creating coherence on this planet. We are doing it even if you don't know it. It works, even if you don't believe in it. And that reminds me of a little funny story that was said about Heisenberg, who had a horseshoe over his lab door.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, why do you believe in this? You're a scientist. And he said, of course I don't believe in it, but I'm told that it works even if you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
So that's in a funny way of believing. But I mean, it works. Evolution works even if you don't believe it for what you're doing. But if you can believe it, and if you do it consciously and purposefully, we can accelerate the process. We can really enter on this upshift. We are ready. We are eager. We have to overcome lethargy, overcome just skepticism and pessimism and downheartedness. Look to the future as a possibility. We are understanding more of the universe now than we ever did before. We're understanding more of the nature of evolution than we ever did before. And now the way is open to cut together and enter on the path that leads to healing and oneness in this world. We can do it.
Yeah, I believe we can. I'm totally with you on that. But it's not necessarily about coming together. I mean, a community is a word that's used a lot in this context, but it's not necessarily coming together as maybe people tried to do some years ago by buying a piece of land, bringing a bunch of people together to live together in a commune or in a community. That's not the only kind of community that we're talking about. We're talking about coming together, as in, you mentioned your website, where people can come together and help each other, but not physically necessarily. We can also do it virtually.
We have to fine-tune our aspirations. What do we want? The classical aspiration is to power and wealth. You want to be more powerful than anybody around you, if possible, as much as possible. You want to be rich, and that's all short-term, self-centered aims. If you recognize that we can't realize this, we can't be happy with being just alone, sitting, even if you're making a pot of money, sitting on it. But we can't be happy if we're extreme poverty either, obviously. So we have got to learn that the community that we need is a community of thinking, of feeling, community of shared empathy, compassion, as the Dalai Lama would say. I mean, all these things they're coming back to the old Christian values, that the teaching of the Essenes, the old scrolls that they found that they received by Jesus, all talking about love, talking about taking things into our own hand and doing our life in our own way. This is our perennial wisdom, and it's now more important than ever before.
Yes, indeed. And also what comes to mind is the saying, be the change you want to see. So we have to embody that as well, don't we?
Absolutely. That's by Gandhi, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. It's an old approach. I used to be in music. I used to be a pianist in my young days. And I learned that What you are trying to do to others is not by doing it to others, it's by doing it to yourself and letting others share. If you want to really do good music, you do it so that you feel it and you enjoy it and it uplifts you, and then you allow others to witness it. It's much more than the typical attitude of the medical person who just prescribes a pill or an injection and gives it to others and not taking it himself. The new doctors, I think, try to do it by themselves, to themselves also. So this is very much true. We have got to be the change ourselves.
Yeah. Yes, and
we can change each other by being that change.
Yes, but not trying to force anybody to change, but just by being that change and modeling that change. Yeah. And, you're talking about mission and doing things that you're passionate about. And a lot of people find it difficult, though, to identify what their mission might be. Is there any way of getting to that point where you understand what you're here to do?
Well, if you look at the overall picture, very, very big picture, the picture of the universe as it evolves, as we mentioned, as from chaos to cosmos, from disorder to order, from incoherence to coherence. Try to be that ourselves. Try to be a miniature where the universe is in the greatest scale. Try to be coherent. Try to relate to each other and to nature around us, not to be separate. Einstein says separateness is an illusion. And that's before the quantum sciences came up with the experiment that showed that there is, on the physical world, there actually is no separation. So I think find your purpose. Your purpose is to be coherent with the person next to you. That means through love, with the world around you, with your partners, even with your enemies. You don't wish your enemies to suffer. You wish your enemies to change into friends, to change into partners. I think the whole idea of punishing people or separating them off, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely moving way past that. And I'm just also mindful that one of the chapter headings or subheadings is lessons of the fateful business of business as usual. So we've not got time for business as usual anymore. That we've got to let go of that. We've got to find new ways, haven't we?
Yes. We've got to find what we are now just working on in my institute, the Laszlo Institute of New Paradigm Research. We're working on the new paradigm for business, among other things. There
Much
are
needed,
business leaders who are really looking into that possibility. Business was not meant to be a separate entity, a separate competing entity with society, just to looking at its own benefit.
Yeah.
You talk to a classical business leader, not a good classical like Dale Carnegie, and very often, and Henry Ford and Mellon and all those. They wanted to do something for society, but what business developed into is a competitive struggle, winning, trying to outdo others, just to make more and more money, getting more market share, having more power. And doing that is a very negative development, because you need competition. We need others around us, but not get rid of it by destroying them, but by moving together into some shared aims. The shared aim is always for humanity on this planet to thrive. Then we can all thrive. We can all be part of that movement, but we have to be coherent with each other, even with our competitors, not against anybody. Actually, there is no stranger, there is no other on this earth. If you want to be really going on with the new sciences, the new quantum sciences, new quantum biology and psychology, there is no other. There is no somebody who is other than me. We are different, of course, in many unique ways. We are unique beings, but we share something. We share the platform of life, the web of humanity on this planet. We share that, and we have to share it in its coherence with each other, together with each other. Sounds ideal, sounds like preaching. It has become a survival imperative. Either we learn that, or we create an unsustainable, chaotic situation, and it'll collapse. This world, as it's heading now, it's heading toward collapse. Change will come not from the outside and not from above. The change will come from people who learn that this is not the way to go.
Yeah.
Change from business people, politicians. I think almost the last one to change. I think.
Oh yeah.
Because you need to be popular, and you have to always have to work to the lowest common denominator. But there are business people already waking up, and there are many people in the media, many youth cultures, peace cultures, all that sort of thing, environmental movements. It's all remarkable moving forward. We are getting together globally, trying to do something, working against big odds and losing some battles. But the war, I think, generally we can win, and I think we will win.
Well, I agree with you. I think we will win. And hopefully a lot of people will come through it with us. Hopefully I'll get through to the other side and see what we create. But it is true, isn't it, that we have to get rid of some of the beliefs that we've lived by all this time, that's come down, that these beliefs have come down from generations, and there's no place for them now.
Well, individualism is a great thing, but we have overdone it in the West. We have defeated what we called collectivism, which was communism, by it's shown that it was very, very negative, misleading and mistaken branches of it, just a power dictatorship. But the idea of getting together is not something that we can get beyond. We still have to work together, not so much individual that, as you say, I look out for myself and to Dickens with you, I don't care.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude, is fatal. And business is, in the old classical model of business in the modern age, is to look for market share, to look for profit, look for influence, perhaps.
Yes,
and
but
never mind the good or the bad that it does. It's not my business, they would say.
That's right. We are seeing changes in the business world. I'm seeing changes in the business world. But I think a lot of businesses struggle to bring in this new paradigm of doing business while the structures of the old are still in place. I think a lot of people find it a bit daunting.
Well, our hope is what Margaret Mead has called a small group that will change the world,
Yeah.
Nowadays we talk about the critical mass. I mean, nowadays these are butterfly effects also. These are all things that we talk about. And, you don't need a sledgehammer to change somebody's mind, I mean, we need to have a very fine input, convictions, seeing the light, awakening, one talks about these days,
Yeah.
These are the changes that will eventually make a difference.
Yeah. Yes. And also you talk about valuing diversity. We are all individual, but valuing diversity, but coming together in community, that's the key, isn't it? Valuing everybody and everything.
The coherence we're talking about is not a uniform mass.
Yeah.
Not just more of the same. The coherence we talk about is like in a good family. They are not the same. There's a man and a woman, that are children, that are grandparents, and so on, etc. We can all be different, but we make something together, which is the unity of the differences. We have different cells in our bodies, 750 different types of cells, billions of the cells themselves, and we work together to create a living organism. In the best case, it's a healthy organism, can survive, can thrive, not by being the same all over. It's by being different, but integrated, coherent one, a higher level of one.
Yeah.
So that's the message. I think that's the lesson that we've got to learn.
Yes, incredibly important. And you talk about reforming a mindset, upshifting spirituality, and updating science. Science is, that's a very controversial area right now, isn't it? So what do you mean by those three things?
Well, spirituality has been misled in some sense, has been put into a wrong direction by putting it into dogma under the heading of dogma. the roots of religions is always lying not in the word, but in the spirit. The great founders of religions were deeply spiritual people. They lived what they were preaching. Otherwise, they wouldn't have caught on, wouldn't have lastingly created a religion. So what we have to look at is not the word, which can be so different. I believe in this, you believe in that, your belief is bunk, and only my belief works, etc. I mean, that's a complete turning around the original intent of love and of cohesiveness, coherence. And that upgrading religion means, or spirituality means going back to lived spirituality.
Yeah.
To live when you're a deep spiritual person. I'm sure you know that. You sound like it. I'm sure that's your experience. Great people that I tend to talk to who respond to this message that I'm trying to put out are all themselves spiritual people, even though they can be scientists. Sometimes very, very, very strict mathematical, rigorous scientists. When you come right down to it, what it all comes down to is a deep intuition, an intuition of progressing together in a direction in this earth that started with the smallest microorganisms and is moving toward a planetary ecology. And we are part of that tremendous movement, wholeness and oneness. And that's somehow what is the message behind it. If we feel that, then we know what to do if we feel it. So spirituality has to be upgraded. It's not the letter, it's the spirit. And science also has to go. You have to reach that kind of science that the great physicists and biologists have reached. If you read the writings, not only of an Einstein, of a Max Planck, of a Bohr, of a Heisenberg, of a Schrödinger, of any of the other big names, Jung in the psychology, they are deeply spiritual people. What has come through, you always quote Newton and Darwin. Newton is just on the only mechanical laws in the universe. They're all impersonal and they don't care about us, and they're just strictly laws. And Darwin about the survival of the fittest. It turns out that when you look at the heritage of Newton, the big unpublished writings, which are kept in the British Museum, deeply spiritual writings. He said matter is only the surface manifestation. There's something deeper in the universe. If you look at a better look at Darwin, it turns out he doesn't talk about the fitness as a physical attribute. He talks about a fit who is able to survive better. That means to cooperate more. So I think the great scientists are spiritual people. The followers are very often not. And that's what we've got to change.
Yeah. And science has become something other, hasn't it? It has been divorced from any kind of relationship with the human, in a sense, in this sort of the entity that we are, the beings that we are. When we look at science, we sometimes find it very difficult, or often find it very difficult, to see the relation between science and who we are in the world that we live in, because it seems to be quite siloed. There are silos of science as well. Things aren't quite so integrated in a lot of scientific thinking. People think in little pockets of scientific fact, which becomes then almost a religion.
Well, we confuse actually science with technology.
Yes.
Scientist with a technician.
Yeah.
It's about the scientists have moved over here and done this and that and other. They turn out to be technicians. A scientist is what you used to call a theoretical scientist in the sense of fundamental science. A search for truth, a first search for the understanding the way things are. And then, of course, comes the question, if that's the way it is, if that's the way we believe it is, what do we do? How can we improve our own being in light of that? That's obviously the next question. But science is not technology. Science is a search for meaning and understanding. It's continuous with spirituality. The method is different. Spirituality is often introspection. It's moving into yourself, into a deeper self. Science is very often, it's also observation, experiment. But then when you come to evaluate, to assess your meaning, then you find that it is not a mechanical universe. It's particularly with the new quantum sciences, it's inconceivable to understand in terms of mechanical motion.
Yeah.
If there is something deeper in this,
Yeah.
in this universe. And that's the new science. That's the new paradigm in science.
Indeed. And yet there seems to be a move towards more technology, more and more technology, which is almost impinging upon nature itself and transforming nature itself. Do you see that?
It's a very short-sighted way.
Yeah.
They used to be saying, always saying, technology is the answer, but what is the question?
Yes, yes,
But to
indeed.
learn, there are other questions. Technology is a long way to can help us, but if we make it an end in itself, then it will subvert the coherence, subvert the oneness in which we need to live.
Yeah.
So putting the limits to technology is very important. There are no limits to understanding, but then a true understanding is, no, this is what we want. We want to serve this end, yes, but when technology is used indiscriminately, it will serve all the violent and selfish ends, and that's very dangerous.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And so I've heard a lot of people talking about, and in fact I talk about it myself, dreaming the new reality, dreaming our way into where we want to be. Is that something that you would also talk about in terms of how we envisage where we want to go with all of this?
I'm convinced that what we know with a rational mind is only a small part of the spectrum. When we dream, when we meditate, we go above it and below it. And we know it already when we look at the EEG spectrum, the electroencephalograph waves of the brain,
Yeah.
You only perceive the visible light and audible sound and the touch and the taste, and all those things are just on one part of the spectrum. Below it, very often, their insights are coming through. People dream at a level which used to be considered only deep sleep, theta, the THETA, theta level of the waves. Usually, people are in deep sleep in that level. But the greatest discoveries are very often made on that level. When people are not deeply asleep, they are off the rational mind, they shut off for a moment, and they feel, and they sense, they have a vision, and then they come back, and then they try to work it out. And that's how great discoveries are made. It's almost always originates in a spontaneous vision.
Yeah. And then when a lot of people come together with this way of dreaming, coming together with these visions, what we want to create, then it can be very powerful, I guess. If we're all dreaming our way forward into a peaceful, wonderful future, then that can be very powerful.
Not dreaming in the sense of being inactive.
No. There has to be action. Yeah. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that too, because obviously you can have dreams, but if you don't take action, then they are just, in your head, in your mind, wherever they are. But in order to create that dream, make it a reality, make it part of your life, you do have to take some steps, don't you?
Well, that's the payoff. That's what it is for, really. I'm sort of convinced that humanity has a purpose, that there is something that we are here for. We have a conscious mind. We're only using a very small part of it. And we could do a lot more. And this consciousness, which is a higher level than most other consciousness on Earth, I think every species has consciousness. Perhaps the dolphins and the whales have a high level of consciousness themselves. We just don't know how to communicate with them so far. We're learning some of it. But I think this consciousness that we have, this kind of articulate, self-reflective consciousness, is unique in its level, in its way on Earth. And it serves some purpose. We are not here just to be a rider, a ride-along, an appendage to other things that are happening. We're here to point the way towards something higher, to a higher level of evolution, higher level of being on this Earth, higher coherence, all together, acting together, means dreaming together, and a good dream means inspiring action.
Yes.
The payoff is always what you do. And a healthy mind in a healthy body. That's what this is. Les sana in see here. So this is an old saying.
Yes.
We need to have a healthy body, obviously, but we cannot just use the healthy body to pursue selfish, short-sighted ends. That is not enough. That is not fulfilling our mission. Our mission to be one with each other and with nature, and to bring evolution on this earth to a higher level. To me, that's very inspiring. And I would hope that other people can respond to it, to be a cosmic messenger, a messenger of a higher level of existence, inspired by love and acting through coherence and empathy and togetherness. Sounding and seemingly poetic and idealistic notions, but they become very, very real and very necessary for our survival.
Absolutely. I find it very inspiring as well. I think, and I hope many of our listeners will too. And again, talking about how we get to the place that we want to be. You mentioned to me before we started recording this interview that you are working or have finished an 8-point roadmap or an 8-step roadmap to help us get to where we want to be, where we need to be. I don't want to say the word need, but where we can be if we take the action that we need to take. So 8-step roadmap, what is it that we need to do?
Well, I think it's based, what we're talking about is basically, it's what I'm trying to put in a very succinct form.
Yeah.
And in 8 bullet points, really. But in the beginnings is to understand that we are part of a cosmic process of evolution in the universe. We are part of it. And we are not a chance phenomena. We are here very much a part of a purposefully understand a coherently unfolding process, evolution in nature, in the universe per se. We are part of that. So once we understand that, then we can go on to say, okay, so how do we become a better part? Mm-hmm. And then I say, yes, we have to look at all the great spiritual systems. They talk about how a good person behaves and is, the right path of Buddhism, the universal love of Jesus, all the Tao in China, and all of those, the Dharma of India. These are all showing our coherence with each other, moving forward together not with each other and with the world around us. We are a conscious manifestation of a spontaneous process. That process is happening, is taking place no matter what we do, but we can be conscious part of it. We can also become extinct. Earth and the web of life would probably suffer, because at first, at least, because if we go down the drain, so to speak, it won't be quietly, it won't be without a bang. There will be a great deal of destruction of the balances of the biosphere, if there's such a thing would occur. So, but on the whole, the biosphere will regenerate without the humans. Perhaps other species will be developing their consciousness, but we have so far developed the highest level, not the most noblest, I think, the most articulate level of consciousness. And it would be a tremendous mistake, a cosmic crime almost, to let this species disappear, to become extinct. I'm talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Here we are, we got this far. We have got to take that role. Noblesse oblige, they say, the French. Mm-hmm. We have obligation to carry this forward, not only for our own personal or species good, but for the good of all life on Earth. That's a great noble task. And that's what I'm trying to point out of those 8 points. 7 are understanding, and the 8th one is to try to get the insight to embrace the result, the conclusion, embrace it, so that you can live it.
Yeah.
That to me is the way forward.
Well, it's a way forward that I wholly endorse, and it sounds like it's something that something that everybody should look at, read, find out how we can get through what we're going through, because there's no doubt that we're going through a difficult time right now for a lot of people, but we can get through it. Ervin Laszlo, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a joy to speak with you today. Now, just to recap, people can join your Upshift. Is it the Upshift Foundation again?
Upshift movement.
The Upshift movement, yeah, and the website is what for that?
It's upshiftmovement.com.
.com. Yeah, lovely. So people can go on there and state their mission, and people will come together and unite in helping people get forward or go forward with their mission, with their purpose, which I think is a fantastic idea for people who are sitting at home, maybe dreaming of something, and then they get to the point where they think, but I don't know how to go forward with this. I don't know. I don't have the means. I don't know. I don't have the contacts. What a wonderful thing to actually provide a place where people can come together and offer that support.
We're trying to be of service to the cause of human survival, human thriving on Earth.
Yeah.
And the way to do this is to bring together that critical mass that will finally change the world, change it for the better. That's the mission I undertake, I accept. And that's why I thank you for this conversation, for all the programs that you are doing. It's all in the same good direction, all in the service of the greater good.
Absolutely. I'm suddenly finding tears in my eyes as you say that, because the truth of it just hits me right at my core. And yeah, and I do recommend that people read the book, The Upshift, which is a great start. If anybody's still wondering, if any regular listener to this show is still wondering about the way forward, and having listened to you, is, their interest has been piqued to learn a bit more, definitely read the book, The Upshift. It will.
You can read it. There's also an audio book. You can hear it.
Which would be great. Yeah.
And there's an ebook, a special version of it. And there's a print book. So there's many ways you can access it.
Perfect. Absolutely fantastic. I love that. And yeah, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure and a privilege to speak with you today. You have done so much in your life and helped so many people. It's wonderful. So thank you so much. We're very grateful for you being here.
You're reaching a wide public, and it's all a very important segment. It could become the critical mass. Let's try to do this together.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I was in tears a little bit again, having watched that through. What did you think? I'd love to know. Do let me know in the comments, and please do share this, because it's a message that we all need to hear, I think. And again, because this was recorded some time ago, I'll give you the updated links in the description below. And here is the book again, The Upshift, The Path to Healing and Evolution on Planet Earth, Building a World Beyond War. That's what we want, really, isn't it? Particularly today. When I interviewed Ervin in 2022, we weren't anywhere near in the place that we are now. Things have moved on apace, but the message is still key. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share. And yeah, I'm very grateful to you all for being here. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.